Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Roman election forecasting election prediction video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Arizona Senate. In Arizona, senators are elected to 2-year terms, so that means we have election data from Senate races with these exact boundaries, which makes my job a little bit easier. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first competitive district we're going to take a look at is the second district. Now, this is a district that Donald Trump won by 5 points, but as you can see, the Republican Steve Kaiser won it by 3.7%. Now, the Republican running in this case is not Steve Kaiser, but Shauna Bullock, and she is an incumbent. She was appointed to fill a vacancy, so she doesn't actually have an electoral track record in this district. And she's facing Judy Schweibert, a well-funded Democrat who's at 320,000 in fundraising to Bullock's 185,000. I don't think that that's terminal for Bullock because she is at a high number herself. So even though over $130,000 is a large gap, it's not as if Bullock is lacking for money. So even though the Democrat is doing well in terms of fundraising and Bullock doesn't have a proven track record, I just think the partisanship of this district makes it ever so slightly lean in the Republicans' favor. And so while it is a toss-up, I'm going to tilt it towards the Republicans. Up next, we have the fourth district. This is another district in Maricopa County, north of Phoenix. So, like the second district, trends in the long term are favorable for Democrats. This is another seat that Donald Trump won by over 4%. But in 2022, as you can see, the Democrat Christine Marsh actually managed to win by a little bit less than a percentage point. Marsh is running again, and she's running against the Republican Karine Werner. She's narrowly ahead in fundraising at 294,000 to the Republicans 211,000. So I don't think that differential alone is enough to get Marsh over the edge, but because of her proven track record as a candidate and the fact that she was able to overperform the partisanship of the district last time, I think she'll probably be able to do it this time, and I think Democratic trends will help her. I think in terms of the presidential race, Trump will probably win the seat by less than he did in 2020, although I still think he'll be narrowly favored for it, and I think Christine Marsh will outrun Kamala Harris. So while this district is another toss-up, I'm going to tilt it in the Democrats' direction. Now we are going over to the ninth district, and now we're getting east of Phoenix. This is a seat that was quite competitive in 2020. Biden won it by 1.8%, while in 2022 it was a bit less competitive in terms of the Senate race. Eva Birch was able to win it by just under 5%. And she is running again. This race doesn't have as much total fundraising as the previous two. Birch is at only 113,000, but compared to the Republican, she's in a fantastic spot. He raised 33,000, but he has spent over 40,000, so he's literally in the hole. That's an extremely difficult position to come back from. And since Birch is the incumbent and she was able to overperform last time, combining it with that fundraising gap, I'm not even going to put this as a toss-up. I think this is leaning in the Democrats' favor. Now we are moving on to the 13th district. This is south or southeast of Phoenix. In 2020, Trump was able to win this seat by just over 2 points, while in 2022, the Republican J.D. Mesnard, he was able to overperform that a little bit, getting 3.5% of the vote. We have him running for re-election against Sharon Lee Winters, and he has about double the raise that she has. He's at 107,000 to 58,000, so a little bit less than what she has. And so Because he was able to outperform Trump in 2022 relative to 2020, even though this district is trending away from the Republicans in the long term, I still think that base partisanship and that fundraising, as well as his incumbency, is enough to lean this race in his favor. Now we're going to take a look at the 16th district. We're finally getting away from the Phoenix area. This is in southern Maricopa County, and it stretches out to the area west of Tucson. In 2020, Trump won this district by 5.8%, but in 2022, the Republican incumbent, as you can see, massively overperformed that. TJ Shope, he got 11.5% of the vote, and he's running again. However, it's not a complete lock for him despite his overperformance because he's running against Stacey Seaman, who is the wife of the one of the two representatives for this district. So she has a name ID advantage. Luckily for the Republicans, though, fundraising is a different story. Shope has raised 194,000, whereas Seaman has only raised 42,000. So I don't think this will be that competitive, but I think the name ID, despite the previous performance, keeps it out of the safe category. So I will make this likely for the Republicans. Now we're going on to the 17th district. This is north and east of Tucson. Trump did very well here in 2020, getting 9.2% of the vote, but Republicans really struggled here in the midterms, only getting 2.5%. That's not a good sign. What's even worse for the Republicans is that they don't have an incumbent. It's Vince Leach running, who's a new candidate against John McLean. And Vince Leach actually defeated the incumbent Republican in a primary. So that incumbent Republican didn't seem to be doing very well electorally. However, Leach had to spend a lot of money to get there. The Democrat is already winning in fundraising at 172,000 to 121,000, but when you factor in spending, there's a much worse picture for the Republicans. Leach spent 83,000, whereas McLean spent only 25,000. So that means he has over 100,000, whereas the Republicans are working with less than 40,000. So because of the fact that at the local level this area seems less interested in Republicans and their resources are spent, despite the partisanship of this district, I'm actually going to be bold. It's definitely a toss-up, but I'm going to tilt it in the Democrats' favor. I think John McLean could narrowly skate by a couple tens or 100 votes or so. And the last district we're going to take a look at is the 27th district in southwestern Arizona. This has a Democratic incumbent, Brian Fernandez, and Biden won it by 15.6%. So why are we even talking about it? Normally it would be in safe territory. Well, in 2022, it was a lot closer. Brian Fernandez only won it by 7.3%. So Republicans seem to be able to do better here down ballot, meaning it could be in contention. But when you take a look at the fundraising numbers, it might not get that close after all, because the Republican Michelle Alter is at just 6,000 compared to Fernandez's 57,000. So while that 57,000 is not impressive and Fernandez is an underperformer, this Republican is not going to be able to overperform a 15.5 point partisanship favoring the Democrats. So I'm still going to make this likely for the Democrats. But in the future, perhaps this district would get interesting. So, like the House, we're going to end up with a split verdict. I'm predicting the Arizona Senate will have 15 seats for the Democrats and 15 seats for the Republicans. That is going to be it. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you could like or comment. It helps me get my predictions out to more people. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. This has been Roman Election Forecasting. Thank you.